Welcome to another beautiful day of training wild horses with me. If you like what you see, please hit the like and subscribe button so you can see future videos of our training progress. Today's training session was a little bit challenging. The wind was really bad today as there was a storm moving in, and it kept catching my camera and blowing it all over the place, so I didn't get as good of footage as I wanted to show today. I also want to make a note that I don't normally feed treats, and I don't normally feed when I'm training or working, but I had to do it for today's session to separate the horses so I wouldn't injure anybody when we got to the lead rope part of this. So in past sessions, we were working on touch and trust and building up to brushing and haltering. So right away, I'm just going into brushing. I already did that other side. On this side, I'm coming in, starting over with approach and retreat, introducing the brush and walking away. She's a little bit more nervous on this side than she was the other side, so I'm working a little bit longer than I did with the approach and retreat before going in and brushing. So I'm starting off with her shoulder, and I want to note that as I move back, she starts to look at me. She starts to get uncomfortable, and she starts to reach back. So I go back to her shoulder where it's a comfortable spot, and she starts to relax. And then I start to make my way back towards that uncomfortable spot, towards her back, and she reaches back again. She tells me, hey, that's too much. I did get a little nervous there. So she didn't do anything wrong. She was just letting me know that, hey, you're getting a little too close, and I don't like that. I step off. I let her think about it for a moment, and then I come back in. I go right back to that spot. So that nervous spot that she was at last time, I'm working on. You can definitely tell that when I start to go back to where she's comfortable, she goes back to that forward-facing position, and her face relaxes. And then when I get to spots where she's uncomfortable, her face gets tense, like right here. If it's me brushing her back, she looks back, almost as if she's guarding her heart. I like to call it guarding her heart, even though it's just her looking at me. Oops, she gets nervous. I stopped. I didn't apply pressure anymore. I waited for her to calm down, and then I went forward and then go right back to brushing. Like I said, the wind is really bad right now, and it's knocking things and banging things, so our session is a little bit more tense today than it has been in the past. I continue to do this for several minutes until I can slowly work my way towards her back end. I have grown quite comfortable with Naveen, but I want people to understand that when she looks back at me like this, it is not always a good sign. A lot of it is her telling me that she's tolerating it, but it's still making her very uncomfortable, and she's not quite sure how to handle the situation. In some cases, this is where people get bit because they're dealing with horses that get into that fight or flight. And with Naveen, I've gotten quite comfortable with her. Now, here in a moment, she is going to tell me that she doesn't want to listen, that she doesn't want to stand here, and that she doesn't want to be brushed. She'd rather eat than be brushed. So she's not quite nervous. She just doesn't want to do what I ask her to. So I'm going to ask her to go and move her forward. And what I love about Naveen is she doesn't get that far. Some horses that I've had to deal with in the past will run around for 20 minutes every time that this happens, and she'll just make a circle. So if you saw there for a second, the wind blew my camera over, so I missed some footage. Now I'm introducing the halter, so this is quite a few moments later, and I'm doing the approach and retreat with the halter again. So I just came in, I'm introducing the halter. Again, I'm not going right at her with it. I'm taking my time. And I'm going to continue to do the approach and retreat method with the halter here, just to get her nice and comfortable and ready for the next step. So just like the brush, I'm going to go to that comfortable spot with the halter, and I'm going to work my way out from that spot. And I'm gonna let that halter hang loose in my hand so that it rubs on her skin differently. I don't want to say slaps, but hits her skin differently, gets that stimulation going a little differently, so she feels something. It's not my brush, it's not the hand, and desensitizes her to that halter. I also put it up and over her neck, her back, and slowly work my way up towards her face. Throughout this method, I do walk away and give her moments to think about it and take those mental breaks before I continue the session. And here shortly, again, the camera will blow away and I'm going to lose a ton of footage here, but we're going to take back off once I get the halter on. So here we are, a few moments later. I just adjusted the camera. I'm going to come back in and we're going to start working with the halter. So I just put it on very loosely. I'm just going to mess with it, desensitize her to it, and then here in a minute I'm going to adjust it properly so it's not just hanging on her face loosely like that. So I have now adjusted the halter and tied it on properly. I've pulled and tugged on it, pulled it down a little bit, and now I'm going to introduce the lunge line. So again, I'm going to go right back to just pulling on the halter a little bit, not fully yanking on it, but just adding a little bit of pressure, and then clipping the leading ring. I'm going to take it off, give her a mental break, and then she's so curious here. Go right back to putting it back on. This lunge line is a very light lunge line, so when I start to walk back, the wind really starts to fight me with it. I do walk back a little farther to add more weight to the lunge line because she's not quite reacting the way I anticipated. And here I'm questioning, maybe somebody might have messed with her. But I quickly realized that she hasn't been. She starts to toss her head. She doesn't understand the weight that's underneath her chin. She's licking and chewing there. I'm going to slowly start to apply a tiny bit of pressure. I walk back, pull a little bit. As she looks at me, I release. The slightest try, and I release. Now there's some spots in this video I'm going to point out where I messed up. I should have released at certain points a lot sooner than I did. So right now I'm releasing when she's just looking at me. And I release as she steps forward. I add pressure. I release when she looks at me. She's going to take a bathroom break, so I'm going to let her take a bathroom break. And then I go back to applying a little bit of pressure. And I want her to move forward, and this is where I mess up. So when she steps that right foot forward, I should have let go. And I didn't. But I was so concentrated on her face and getting her face to move forward towards me that I totally spaced off on her front legs. This was a big oopsie on my end. I should have released long before this. And I thought about editing this out and not showing anybody, but trainers have bad days and they make mistakes, and this was mine. And I want to show people what not to do, as well as what to do. So if you're watching this, when she stepped that right foot forward, I should have let go. I should have released and let her have her head back. So I'm going to try again. I'm going to apply pressure just a little bit. As she brings her head towards me, I release. So now we're going to speed forward a little bit. I lost the camera. She's backing up, and while I'm here, I'm still applying steady pressure. I'm not yanking on it. I'm not pulling with it with all my weight. It's a very light pressure, but it's consistent, and I'm bumping. I'm asking her to look forward and walk forward towards me. So earlier, I messed up. I didn't release when that right leg stepped forward. So now she's bracing. So I'm going to try to step right and left and throw her balance off a little bit to get her to walk forward. This is why releasing, when you're doing release and pressure, is so important when you do the timing right. And I am really kicking myself in the butt right now for not catching that. So here she walks back and I just stay with her. So I'm not fighting her and I'm not trying to yank her back. I just stay with her and I keep that consistent pressure. Right now you can see me bumping the lead because I'm just trying to get her to step forward and release a little bit. And I am still kicking myself in the butt right now because I really messed up. She's really bracing up against me right here. This is why timing is so important. Today's lesson will also include showing myself forgiveness. If you're watching this and you're new to horses, just a couple of safety notes here. Try not to wrap anything around your hand. You want to fold everything and keep it folded. And you want to make sure that any loops, any loose ropes are out and away from your feet. Especially with something like this, if she were to freak out and panic and that rope were to wrap around my leg, it could cause a big wreck. So you want to make sure that you're not going to be wrapped around anything. I'm still working on trying to get her balance up off her feet, trying to get her to release to that pressure. Again, it looks like I'm really yanking on her, but I'm not. It's just consistent, steady, light pressure here. Here, in just a moment, she's going to stretch her neck out, and that's just enough of a release for me. Right here. Release. See how she stepped that leg forward? Now she's going to go back, and we're going to go right back in the pull. Release. I'm going to follow her. Pull. Release. As soon as that left leg stepped back, her right leg stepped forward. Pull. Brace a little. She steps back, so I keep that pressure. She braces and then steps back before I realize I need to adjust her halter, and then I go back right to work, and she clicks right here. Pull, release. And step forward, pull, release. Pull, release. She starts to walk forward with me. I do lose the camera here again. And here she walks all the way around. We do a few circles. She pulls and release. You can see her release. I'm talking to her. Good girl, good girl. She did so good by the end of this session. I'm so disappointed that I didn't get this on camera. But I had done a few circles with her, led her around a little bit, and then we ended on a good note. I'm going to try to get better footage of this tomorrow. I want to thank you so much for joining me and for being here and watching our journey. I appreciate all the love and support. Again, if you like what you saw, please hit the like and subscribe button, and you can see future videos of us working together. Thank you again, and I hope you have a wonderful day.